Howdy folks, I'm loyal little wood satyr, logically lying to litigious lemurs.
I'm Amber.
And of course we're gonna lie to the lemurs. They're very litigious and they're going to sue us anyway, so we may as well make it as hard as possible. That's I guess the philosophy we're using. We are not Kantian here at all. Let's get started. Oh, and folks, we have a live stream coming up on Friday. For more information, please see the end of the video. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Best Man that kidnapping the groom is a really bad idea for the bachelor party? Originally posted to Am I the Jerk, but the mods removed it after a ton of comments saying not the jerk because I said things are icy, which I feel is very relevant in this case. So I'm a 31-year-old male and I'm a groomsman at my sister, a 21-year-old female's wedding next week. The groom, a 23-year-old male, and I get along well, though we aren't necessarily best friends. Currently, we are in the process of planning the bachelor party, scheduled for the evening before the wedding. And the official plan is to go to an entertainment center/arcade. The groom's best friend and best man, I'll call BM, got the rest of the groomsmen in a secret second group chat to plan a surprise change in venue to an escape room center. I'm cool with this, partially because it's the sort of thing that I think the groom would really enjoy, and it's less physically demanding the day before he gets married, with less chance of injury. However, the best man also has a plan of how to get the groom there. Basically, he would quote-unquote kidnap him, have a few of us groomsmen in disguise, faces covered, etc., and force him into a car and drive off, and then reveal, as we got closer to the new venue, what was actually going on. He thinks that it would be a fun prank, and the groom likes pranks. I don't feel comfortable with this idea, and I told him that it wasn't a good idea in this current icy climate. I also pointed out that we probably shouldn't add fear to his life to the list of pre-wedding stresses. I suggested that perhaps instead we could just have someone blindfold him once we were in the car to keep the new venue a surprise, or maybe do it after we drive past the original venue and not stop. We argued for a bit, and eventually the best man begrudgingly conceded. It felt like he was disappointed that he wouldn't be able to do the whole prank that he had planned, and possibly had been planning for a long time. I feel a little bad because as much as I get along with the groom, the best man has known him for longer and is a lot closer to him, so maybe this wouldn't be as bad of an idea as it might sound to me. I've only known the groom for a year or two once my sister introduced him to the family, and we've only had the occasion to hang out a handful of times since they both live in different states. The best man knows the groom way better, so am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. Kidnapping someone could go there's so many ways it could go horribly wrong. You do not kidnap people, even as a joke. Just don't do it.
Well, I think the biggest problem is the things that could go wrong here, right? Like, you could, a bystander could, try to stop you.
Yeah.
Someone could have a gun and try to stop you. Someone could call the police on you. And there's just any number of those kinds of things that just don't seem very good. Plus, I think OP is right that in our current environment, people are currently being kidnapped by, government officials and being thrown in detention centers and stuff like that. That is a realistic thing that is happening right now. And that is something that would probably terrify a lot of people, given that it's common and it's happening, right?
Right.
So I don't think that this is a good idea. I think it's an extraordinarily bad idea. And I mean, certainly I understand that the best man might be a little disappointed, but sometimes life is full of disappointments, right?
Right. And the most important thing is ensuring that no one gets hurt or killed, because, again, even like the OP and the other groomsmen would know it was a prank, the groom wouldn't, and bystanders wouldn't.
Yeah. Now, they could probably pull this off if they went over the top fake with like squirt guns and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, well, I think some people in the comments suggested doing like a fake version where like it's obvious, where they have like squirt guns and like it's clearly the groomsmen who are doing this.
Yeah.
And that could be like a funny prank because it's obvious no one's in danger.
Yeah, and if you make it really, really obvious that no one's in danger and those kinds of things, then this is fine. And the groom is going to think it's funny at that point in time, right? Like, oh, we're kidnapping you here, right? But again, the other way, I just can't see it working out in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh, sorry.
I was going to say the potential risks far outweigh any potential benefits.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Monkey Breath 66 says, that sounds like the absolute worst idea ever had, and the possibilities for disaster are so numerous that my puny brain can't even comprehend them all. And OP replies, I mean, I can think of worse ideas, but this is logistically more possible than going swimming in a nuclear reactor. And the walrus was RuPaul says, not the jerk. Also, you articulated the reasons why this was a bad idea super well. But I just need to add, the best man is just plain dumb to think of blindfolding this guy for a surprise, and the surprise seems to be pretty neutral, like one activity for another. Blindfold-worthy surprises should have more of a payoff than a similar but surprise activity. He's a doofus. And OP replies, well, I suggested the blindfold as an alternative to the kidnapping idea. And the walrus was RuPaul says, oof, I'm sorry, truly. I didn't make the connection, and I accidentally insulted you. I honestly have been preoccupied with this post because you did such a great job of reasoning with these guys. You're a great bro-in-law already, and really well prevented the whole lot of risk stuff. I actually think the ridiculous part, ignoring the kidnapping, is having the party the late night before the wedding. I hope the groom picked that, but why? It's kind of old school and people will be in town, but it seems risky too. And OP replies, lol, no worries and thanks. That's mainly because the family will only be in town for a few days before, due to how the plane tickets ended up working out, so there's very limited time window for all of us to be there at the same time, and yeah, the groom picked that part. And Try KNJ99 says, no, you're not the jerk. That is an awful, awful idea. Not to be shady, but you're a 31-year-old with a bunch of 20-year-olds. You might find yourself being the voice of reason pretty often. I hope the wedding goes well, good weather and all that. And OP replies, thanks. Thankfully, the best man conceded the point and agreed not to. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Skipping My Brother's Wedding Because I Wasn't Invited to the Engagement Party? I'm a 28-year-old male and I have a twin brother. Growing up, we were inseparable, and until recently, I thought that we were still very close. I was always more shy and a nerd, and he was an extrovert that played sports throughout our childhood and high school. But we spent almost all of our time together by choice. We went our separate ways when college came, and he stayed local in Arizona and I went to college in Portland. When I graduated, I stayed there because I fell in love with the city. My friends are here, my professional networks from internships were here, etc. But I always flew back home for holidays, events, and birthdays, etc. My brother announced on Instagram that he and his girlfriend of 3 years got engaged. I was incredibly happy for him and I texted him congratulations. He mentioned that they were planning to have an engagement party in 6 to 8 weeks and I told him to let me know so I can book a flight home, and I was never told the date. If I brought it up with him or anyone in the family, they would change the subject or say that it was still being planned and confirmed. After a few weeks, I texted my brother and asked about the date because it must be getting close and I don't want to pay for last-minute flights. No response. Well, I asked my mom for details and she said it's not really an engagement party, it's just a small dinner with family. There's no need to come down. I eventually found out that it was in fact a big party. They rented the entire restaurant for 4 hours and there were about 80 guests. Family, friends, cousins, everyone. Everyone was told that I couldn't make it. My aunt, who is like a second mother to me, texted me that she was very disappointed that I couldn't make time to join, and I replied that I would have happily come, but I wasn't invited. Word spread quickly about my snub, and my parents and brother tried to say that it was just a misunderstanding. This was almost a year ago. Since then, I've tried to get to the bottom of why I wasn't invited. Over the course of months, it went from, it was just meant to be a small gathering, to, I don't know what happened, there must have been a miscommunication, to, it's just a party, it's no big deal. I asked my brother if he was mad at me. I thought that maybe his fiancée didn't like me, even if she or he didn't want me there. Why were my parents okay with this? This really wasn't like them. Christmas and Easter were awkward because nobody but me wanted to address the elephant in the room, and any conversation about anything was like small talk with strangers. When I visited in May for my sister's birthday, I left early after my sister said, "You moved so far away, it's not like you're even really family anymore. You make everything feel so weird now." Well, 9 months ago, I got sent a save the date announcement, and 6 months ago, I got the invitation to the wedding. I wasn't asked to be in the wedding party, which is fine, and wasn't super surprising at that point. My sister and younger brother were asked to be in the wedding party, so another snub. I also didn't get a +1 for my girlfriend that I've been seeing for almost a year and a half. My sister, however, got a +1 for her friend with benefits. So I decided that I wasn't welcome, and I was probably only invited for optics and to play happy family. I didn't RSVP no, since I knew that would cause drama. I just didn't go. The wedding was this past weekend. No one contacted me about missing the rehearsal dinner, so I guess even if I did go, I wasn't invited to that either, or expected to be there. Well, I started getting calls and texts about an hour before the ceremony asking where I was, if my flight was delayed, how far along I'll be, etc. I ignored them. They stopped for a little while during the ceremony, but started up again right afterwards. I finally picked up my mom's call, and she screamed, "Where are you?" I replied, "In Portland, where you would all prefer me to be." She said, "This is your brother's wedding. How could you embarrass us?" I answered, "It was just a party, no big deal," right? It was probably the first time in my life that my mother was speechless. After a few seconds of silence, I said, "Tell everyone I said hi," and I hung up. Now I'm getting calls and texts from everyone saying that I was being petty and ruined the day. So am I the jerk here? I feel like I'm just matching their energy and dropping the rope. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. Generally, I mean, I think it's polite to RSVP no to a wedding, but also if you don't get an RSVP, you have to assume someone's not coming. So I think it was kind of ridiculous that they all just assumed OP would be there. And, you know, they've done nothing for OP. They gave OP no part in the wedding. They didn't give OP a +1. Like, it's very clear that they only want OP there because they don't want it to be how obvious how much disdain they have for OP.
Well, and I also want to point out that OP wanted to get to the bottom of this. They never apologized
Yeah.
for, the whole, engagement party and stuff like that. I think that until OP can get to the bottom of it, until OP can find out why they're snubbing them or why they snubbed them, that this was a perfectly reasonable position to be on, right? And I can understand them not replying no because, again, that would cause drama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a sad situation because OP and their brother were really close for a long time. And it seems like this is just kind of one of those situations where everything is kind of fallen apart.
Right. Well, it just seems like the family is so upset that OP decided to move elsewhere. But that's a very common thing that a lot of people choose. And while I understand it may be frustrating, no one even had an honest conversation with OP that, hey, I don't feel like we're connecting as much anymore. No one tried to reach out to stay connected in other ways, because the nice thing about living in this day and age is that you don't necessarily have to be in the same locale to stay in touch with people. They could have phone calls or Zoom calls or what have you.
Yeah, well, that's it. And that there are a lot of ways. And I also kind of want to address what the sister said during her birthday was that, OP's not even like family anymore.
Right, that's a very weird thing to say when just because someone has moved away. Like, again, it doesn't sound like OP has done anything other than move to a different city.
Yeah. So I think that you are probably right. I think that this is a matter of just bitterness that OP moved. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Such Log 1352 says, when you said my girlfriend, I thought that there could be an issue. This sounds like a very sad, shallow family. Maybe make a new family unless and until they really want to have one with you in it. And OP replies, honestly, my family loves her. Or, at the very least, they say they do. She came with me for Christmas, and my mother pulled me aside and said that I finally found someone who can put up with me, and she can stop worrying about my future now. My girlfriend was cool with being no +1 and said that it's getting more common to only give +1s to engaged or married couples since the bride and groom don't want some random person that they've never seen in their photos if the relationship doesn't work out. Engagements and marriages sometimes don't work out either. Then she found out that my sister got a +1 for her friend with benefits. And Such Log 1352 says, then why do you think it is? Why is everyone excluding you? And Quiet Dust says, my money is on Mom orchestrating the freeze out to punish him for living so far away from the cult/clan. And OP replies, I'm beginning to think that you're right. Well, the mother's comment there was particularly weird, where she's like, oh, finally you found someone who could put up with you.
Yeah, it does insinuate that she finds OP like a hard person. Like sometimes, some families do have that joking relationship where they are like, oh, haha, but it doesn't sound like a joke in this particular context.
Yeah. I mean, the alternative to this is that OP is actually kind of like the a black sheep in the family, or was already like someone who, because sometimes you'll have a family member who's very difficult to get along with people, and they don't realize on some level how difficult they are to put up with. And if OP is that kind of individual, then they would probably have no sense of that.
But it also sounds like this didn't happen until OP went away to college. Like
Yeah.
usually that kind of behavior, like people would have started putting distance, and might even see less of it with distance since they're not constantly like around these, being a nuisance, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have any information.
Yeah.
I mean, this is pure speculation, and I wouldn't assume that that was the case. I mean, it's difficult to know why because they haven't given OP a reason why. And OP replies to this deleted comment. Thank you. You've totally hit the nail on the head. If anyone was just like, hey, it feels like we've lost touch, so a heads up, you may not be as involved as others, I would have been fine. And OP quotes this person, you were only re-invited to the wedding so that you could sit there like a prop while everyone else clinked glasses and said, oh, look at our perfect family. One of my cousins, who's on my side, actually told me that I wasn't even placed at the family table because there wasn't any room to fit me in there. So even if I went, I would have been some random guest. That's pretty telling.
Mm-hmm.
And Raised by the Books, NTV says, what did your aunt say? Do you still stay close with the people who actually care about you? I hope you have them. And OP replies, she called and she was one of the few calls that I actually picked up. She says she gets it, but I could have made my message at another time. This call was after I learned that I wasn't even seated at the family table, and I pointed that out, and she said, you kids always had rose-colored glasses, but your mother was and has always been. See you next Tuesday. That was probably her influence. Okay, so I think that we're starting to unravel this mystery here. It's literally the mom who is kind of orchestrating this, it kind of feels like.
Yeah, but like the brother is making after choices in all of this.
Yo,
too.
the brother is. I mean, I'm not
Like
saying he isn't to blame.
Like it's horrible that the mom is singling OP out and trying to like make them to create this distance if that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But the other siblings are also choosing to go along with it, and that's not cool.
Yeah. Well, it just feels like she's poisoning them against OP,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably part of the reason why all this is happening. Not great. It's not great. I mean, I guess that's not even necessary. I did also scan through the comments a little bit, and there are questions about like politics and whether the politics may have some role in this. And OP says that it seems very unlikely that no one's politics have really shifted since OP has left home. So, it's just kind of one of these mysterious type of things. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
And also, we have a special guest for tea time.
Oh, I guess we do.
And our joke is, what did the camper do when they saw Mothman?
I'm guessing they probably trapped them and then sent them to a scientific research laboratory to get studied.
No, they bugged out.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did bug out.
And it's National Moth Week.
Oh.
And it's also National Words with Friends Day.
Yes. So, if you want to be a Mothman, just pull a Jeff Goldblum and get into a machine that teleports, and except for using a fly, use a moth, and you'll be a Mothman. And I have the special guest tea, some chocolate tea. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Spectacular Saturday, folks. I hope your Saturday is off to a spectacular start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on bad wedding decisions.
Do not kidnap brides or grooms or anyone. No kidnapping, whether it's for a prank or not.
Yeah, I think that works. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.